Alright, so good day. We already discussed the concept and the nature of the inventory. Specifically, we mentioned about how do we account for inventories using periodic and perpetual method, gross and net sales method, and we also discussed about cost formulas like FIFO, weighted average, specific identification, and we also tackled about LCNRV or lower of cost or net realizable value. So this time we're going to talk about the um, gross profit method and retail method, although we're going to discuss the retail method on the next video. So basically this time we're going to discuss the use of estimates in inventory valuation. So when we talk about estimate, so parang ano siya no, hindi siya yung physical count. Okay? So I also mentioned about physical count last time so sa atong previous na mga meetings. So this time we're going to talk about inventory valuation using estimates. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is the gross profit method. So we also have this retail method or retail inventory method, which again will be tackled in the next video. So anyway, why do we estimate inventories, or why is there a need for us to have this inventory valuation? So we have few rationales on why do we make these estimates. First thing is because there might be times that the company will experience some casualty losses. For example, there is a fire that would destroy the inventory of the company and we cannot assess or we cannot determine kung magkano yung inventory na naging considered as loss due to fire. Okay? And there might be some other instances na may mga loss. For example, theft ng merchandise or nanakaw ang merchandise natin. Could be by our employees, yung mga tauhan natin sa loob ng company, or maybe from nanakaw ng mga outsiders. So things like that. So it would be hard for us to determine kung magkano yung nawala sa mga casualties na yon. That's why we make estimates. And one thing, again, we use gross profit method. Or it could be retail inventory method. So another reason why do we make inventory valuation is, secondly, aside from making a physical count, we want to assure kung tama po ba, or let's say reasonable or accurate lang ba ang naging result ng ating physical count. So we want to have some basis kung yung physical count ba natin is reasonable or accurate. That's why we make estimates. So we're going to compare yung physical count na ginawa sa inventory natin dun sa warehouse, maybe compare it to the estimate that our accountants compute. Okay? So, kung okay naman, kung nag-sync naman or nag-equal naman yung estimate natin, so yung parang fino-foresee natin or fino-forecast natin na okay, our inventory for this period should be, or as of this period should be, let's say 100,000. And then when we did the physical count, 100,000 din yung lumabas, so wala tayong problema. But there are instances or there would be times na hindi siya mag-equal. So there would be a slight difference. Okay? There might be a slight difference. Let's say 100,000 yung fino-forecast or fino-foresee natin na inventory count or inventory through the estimate na ginawa natin. And then the physical count would be, let's say, 98,000. So there would be a difference of 2,000, which is maybe immaterial. But there might be times din na yung difference is super laki. So, kaya tayo gumagawa ng estimate. So, para may something naman na may compare natin dun sa physical count na ginawa natin. So, that's second reason. And another reason could be because there is a need for us to make or to release an interim financial statement. So, quarterly, monthly, bi-monthly, or semi-annual na mga financial statements na hindi na natin kaya, or let's say, hindi na magiging cost-benefit ang mag-physical count. So, medyo hassle na ang mag-physical count, costly, kaya hindi na natin kayang magpa-physical count semi-annually or quarterly, kaya gumagamit na lang tayo ng estimate. So, that's why inventory valuation comes in. And this, again, video, we're going to talk about one of the methods, which is gross profit method. And to illustrate all of those things that I mentioned, we're going to solve some problems. But before that, let me present to you this formula or this setup that we should be mindful of as we go along with our topic. So I think this has been illustrated sa mga previous na mga accounting subjects natin. This is actually the cost of goods sold formula. So we have inventory beginning, and then we add the net purchases. So yung inventory natin at the start of the period plus yung mga inventory na binili natin during the period. So a total of those goods is what we call total goods available for sale. So I think it's explainable or self-explained. And less inventory end. So babawas natin kung magkano yung naiwan dun sa warehouse. Then that would be our cost of goods sold. So the result would be the amount of inventory na nabenta natin, or it could be total goods available for sale minus yung mga nabenta natin equals inventory end or inventory na naiwan sa warehouse. So I think we're good with this. Let me present to you this another formula. We have sales. Okay, so this is the total of all the sales that we made during the period, during the year maybe. So this is cost plus our markup. So naka-selling price na to. Hindi siya yung dili siya kadtong capital ba. Okay? So yung may markup na, may profit na on top of the cost. So yun yung sales less the cost. So kibalik kadtong capital sa imong inventory nga imong nabaligya equals gross profit. So, mura siya, let's say, nagkapital ka sa imuhang example calculator. Imuhang inventory or imuhang business na maligya kag calculator. Ang capital nimo is 100. And then, gipatungan nimo or you have this markup na 20. So, your sales there would be 120. Your cost of goods sold katong capital nimo would be 100. So, that's 120 minus 100. Ang imuhang ginansya, okay, ginansya, your gross profit would be 20. So, that's the other formula that we need to consider, we need to be mindful of as we go along this gross profit method. All right? So, one of the problems we have here is the Celebacy Company. So, what is required here? We have, what is the estimated cost of missing inventory at year end? So, I think I mentioned this one, that one of the reasons why we make inventory evaluations is because there might be times that there would be casualty losses that will happen in the company. And fire is one example or one good example of it. So, Celebacy Company actually experienced such casualty loss. Okay, Celebacy Company provided the following information for the current year. So, we have here some balances. At year-end, a physical inventory revealed that the ending inventory was only 420,000. Now, we have this gross profit on sales, which is constant at 30%. The entity suspects that some inventory may have been pilfered by one of the employees. So, I think may mga embezzlements or theft na nangyayari sa loob ng kumpanya. And we need to provide an estimate kung sakto lang ba na 420 dapat ang maiwan doon sa warehouse or sa bodega natin. So, let us analyze. Beginning inventory, we have 650,000. So, that should be here. We have purchases of 2.3, purchase returns of 80, and freight in of 60. So, let's have the net amount so that we could have the net purchases. So, that's 2.3 million. Minus 80,000 plus 60,000, I think that's 80 plus 60,000 freight in. So a total of net purchases of 2.28. And we have total goods available for sale, that's 2.93 million. Less the inventory end, based on our physical count, we have 420. So lalagay muna natin dito sa kabila. Kasi ko-compare natin, di ba? Yung physical count or your actual inventory na nakita mo sa bodega mo versus the inventory na the should be. So, tawagin na lang natin should be. Okay? Yung estimate na makukuha natin based sa gross profit method is the should be. Yun ang dapat na inventory end. Pero, i-compare natin dun sa actual. Okay? The should be versus the actual. Tapos, titingnan natin kung may difference ba, kung may theft ba na nangyayari sa loob ng company. So, the 420,000 is the actual inventory. Now, let us compute kung magkano ba dapat. Okay, the estimated inventory that should be present in our warehouse. So, actually, we have these two sub-methods of gross profit method. The gross profit could be based on the sales price or gross profit based on the cost. And in this problem, it is specifically mentioned that the gross profit on sales has remained constant at 30%. Ibig sabihin, gross profit based on sales price. So, gross profit on sales in short. We have sales of 3.4 million. We have sales discounts and sales returns of 20 and 30 respectively. So, okay. The question is, are we going to consider the discounts and the returns? Okay, let's analyze. Di ba we are focusing on the number of inventory? Okay, so number of inventory count. That's what we call physical count. So if we are going to consider the count alone, I think it would be logical not to include the discounts. Bakit? Yung sales discounts, di ba, ito lang yung deduction sa sales because of the prompt payment. Ibig sabihin, nagbayad ka agad ang customer, kaya siya naka-avail ng sales discount. Sales return, on the other hand, means binalik niya ang items. So, pag binalik niya ang items, yung inventory count natin nag-increase. Unlike sa sales discount, walang increase or decrease na nangyari sa inventory. So, when we are going to consider the gross profit method, please disregard the sales discounts. Or even in our purchases, pag may nakita tayong purchase discounts, please disregard. Ibig sabihin, wag mo siyang i-deduct. Wag mo siyang ine-net doon sa purchases or sa gross sales or gross purchases mo. Because again, wala siyang effect sa inventory count. Okay? Ang effect niya lang, naging mas mababa ang collection natin from our customer kasi nga, mas maaga siyang nagbayad. Pero the count or the number of inventory na nabenta sa kanya as is. Whereas yung sales return, may inventory na nabalik. So, ibig sabihin, ang warehouse natin or ang inventory natin sa warehouse, nadagdagan. So, naka-affect siya sa count. Simply put, kung ang deduction na yan, hindi naman naka-affect sa count like discounts or allowances, disregard. But returns, naka-affect siya sa inventory count, therefore, consider it. Sa net purchases, wala naman tayong problema kasi returns lang naman ang binigay ng data. But the sales, we have discounts. Again, ignore. So, that would be 3,400 minus 30,000 na returns. So, actually, we have 3.37 million net sales. And our cost of goods sold, that's something that we are going to compute. And the gross profit eventually. So, sabi niya, gross profit on sales. I think I mentioned this last time, pero parang, overview. So, pag sinabing gross profit on sales, okay, ganito na lang. Kung ano yung after ng word na on, yun ang 100%. So, that's the hint. Kung ano yung word after the on, yung word na on, yan yung 100%. So, sabi niya, gross profit on sales. Ibig sabihin, yung gross profit mo is based sa sales. So, kung sales ang naging basihan, sales ang magiging 100% natin. And looking at the formula, we have sales less, so minus yon, and then you will come up with the gross profit. Sabi niya, your gross profit is 30. Ibig sabihin, our cost of goods sold is how much? That would be 70, right? So, 30% of sales, yun yung gross profit. 70% of sales, yun yung cost of goods sold. So, madali lang. You just have to compute kung saan yung 100%. So, you have 3.37 times 30% because yung given is gross profit on sales remained at 30. So, that's 30%. Ibig sabihin, we have a gross profit of 1.011 thousand. And our cost of goods sold, pwede natin siyang i-deduct. You have 3.37 minus this. So, we work back natin, so squeeze out. And then, we will come up with 2,359,000. Or, we could have the other way around. The 100% times 70% goes to cost of goods sold. So, we will have the same answer. 2,359,000. So, that is going to be our cost of goods sold. Okay? So, okay. I'm gonna check. Okay. So, our inventory, so we work back natin siya. If we have total goods available for sale na 2.93 million and we have cost of goods sold na 2,359,000, therefore, our inventory end would be 571,000. So, if we have 571,000, should be, yan yung estimated natin na cost of inventory at the end of the period. But, when we conducted our physical count, naalang tayo nakita, or may nakita lang tayong 420,000. So, the question is, how much is the estimated cost of missing? Magkano yung nawawalang inventory dahil sa, mga employees natin, hindi naman ganun ka-faithful sa company. So, meron tayong 151,000 na difference. That could be the estimated inventory na nawawala. Okay? So, that's how we compute it. That's how we analyze it. Kaya tayo gumagawa ng inventory valuation para ma-compare, again, itong should be versus the actual. Let's proceed to 13-4. 13-4, however, may fire na nangyari. So, siguro faithful na yung employees ng company to. So, we have, based on the recent history, the entity has a gross profit of 30% on cost of goods sold. So, ano nga yung hint? After the word on, yun yung 100%. So, i-clear na muna natin to. Okay. Or, eto lang. Okay. And all of these. Okay. A physical inventory disclosed usable damaged goods which can be sold to a jobber for 100,000. The following information is available from the records for the 9 months ended September 30. So, I think nasunugan yung company ng September 30. Okay. We have inventory of January 1. So, that is going to be our inventory beginning of 1/1. And we have purchases of 6 million. Therefore, we have a total goods available for sale of 7.1 and net sales na 7.28. So, sabi niya, our gross profit is 30% on cost of goods sold. So, I think you already have an idea bakit siya tinatawag na gross profit method. Kasi, it is assumed that the gross profit rate of the company, whether it could be based on cost of goods sold or based on sales, will remain constant for a period of time. So, it will not change for a period of time. Kaya mas madali nating magawa yung estimate kasi we have the assumption na may constant sa gross profit natin or yung relationship ng gross profit sa ibang items sa ating records. So, that is 30% on cost of goods sold. So, kung 100% ang cost of goods sold and our gross profit is 30% of that, question, how much is the percent or the rate of your sales? We'll work back lang natin. Question mark minus 100 equals 30. So, magkano si question mark? I think that would be 130. 130 minus 100, that's 30%. Now, kung kanina, di ba 30% yun dito, tapos 100 si sales, ang ginawa natin para makuha natin si gross profit, minultiply lang natin. So, yung kanina, kasi ang gross profit rate kanina is based on sales, yung kay Celebacy Company. But this time, based on cost of goods sold, ibig sabihin, yung 30% natin dito sa profit should be 30% of the cost of goods sold. Kaya nga lang, hindi natin alam magkano si cost of goods sold. And that will be computed using the rate na binigay dito sa sales. So, simply divide this 7.28 million by the corresponding rate para makuha natin si 100%. So, that's 7.28 divided by the rate na 130%. That makes our cost of goods sold 5.6 million, which is the 100% na hinahanap natin. This has something to do with algebra. So, I think I cannot explain this further. Okay? But if we're going to check, 5.6 times 1.3, dapat ang lumabas is 7.28. Ayan, 7.28. So, again, paano natin kinuha si 5.6? We just have to divide the sales with its corresponding rate. So, that's 1.3. Now, we have cost of goods sold na 5.6. So, ilalagay na natin siya dito sa formula. And let's quiz our inventory end. We have total goods available for sale 7.1 minus cost of goods sold. Therefore, we have 1.5 inventory end. That is our should be. Okay? So, that is our should be. Now, mali to. Kanina pa yun, yung 420. Kaya lang, yung actual natin is 100,000 na lang. A physical count disclosed usable, damaged goods. At least, di ba, kahit damaged siya, usable pa rin. Which can be sold for 100,000. So, kung dapat meron tayong 1.5, pero yung naiwan, 100,000, magkano yung nasira ng fire? That would be 1.4 million. That large. Ang laki. So, the answer for this problem, what is the estimated amount of fire loss? It would be 1.4 million. So, we already had an illustrative case using gross profit on sales, and this second problem is gross profit on cost of goods sold. So, let's try to compute or to analyze a few more problems, and let's try to find out kung na-absorb ba talaga natin. So, if you want to solve it yourself, pwede mo i-pause ang video and then saka mo na i-play ulit pag na-compute mo na. And then, you try to assess if you already acquired the necessary analysis or idea or knowledge about gross profit method. So, this time, we're going to talk about Clear Company. And the question is, what amount should be reported as inventory fire loss? So, may fire na naman. On December 31, 2020, a big fire caused severe damage to the warehouse of Claire, and we have this information, 2020 and 2019 information from Clear Company. Now, at the beginning of 2020, the entity changes the policy in the selling prices of merchandise in order to produce a gross profit rate of 5% higher than the rate na ginagamit nila noong 2019. So, that will give us an idea na, okay, kailangan nating i-compute muna kung ano yung gross profit rate na ginagamit nila 2019. Tapos, saka tayo mag-increase ng 5% para malaman natin ang rate na ginagamit nila for 2020. Now, undamaged merchandise marked to sell at 500,000 was salvaged. Ibig sabihin na save. Okay, yung term na salvage, hindi ibig sabihin yan patay. Diba? Pag narinig natin na ipasalvage or ipapatay. But actually, the word salvage means save. So, there are merchandise na na-save at pwede nating ibenta at 500,000. Now, damaged merchandise marked to sell at 100,000 has an estimated realizable value of 10,000. So, there is another group of merchandise na although damaged, meron pa rin silang estimated realizable value. So, pwede pa rin natin silang mabenta although at a lower amount, that's 10,000. Okay. What amount should be reported as inventory fire loss? Let's begin. Ano nga ulit yung gagawin natin? Una, we're going to compute kung magkano ang gross profit rate ni 2019. Saka tayo mag-increase ng 5%. So, ano po ba ang ginagamit niya? Yeah, yun nga. Yun nga i-compute natin. Sige. Clear ko muna to. Ay, ano ba? Okay. So, 2019, walang beginning inventory. So, maybe kaka-start niya lang ng 2019 or talagang wala siyang beginning inventory. So, wala. We're focusing on 2019 details muna ha. And then we have purchases of 5.6 and purchase returns of 500. So, that is a net of 5.5, right? And we have sales of 6 million. Ayan. So, ma'am, paano to? Hindi natin alam kung magkano. Yes, hindi natin alam, but we could work back. Okay? We could work it back or squeeze it out. Paano? If you could notice, wala siyang binigay na rate, wala siyang binigay kung magkano yung gross profit, hindi niya binigay kung magkano ang cost of goods sold. But, looking at the information, you will be able to realize na hindi na natin kailangang i-compute ang ending inventory for 2019. Bakit? Binigay niya. Paano? Ito. Yung ending inventory mo sa 2019, yun din ang magiging beginning mo the following year or on 2020. So that beginning inventory sa 2020, yan yung ending inventory ni 2019. Simple lang. Kung may inventory kang naiwan December 31, 2019 na 1 million, question, magkano yung inventory mo on January 1? Like, of course, isang araw lang ang pagitan. So, it's like natulog ka on December 31 na may 1 million ka na inventory. Pag gising mo ng January 1, 1 million pa rin yan. At yan yung magiging beginning mo. So, it's common sense, di ba? So, if you have 1 million ending inventory, therefore, your cost of goods sold is 4.5. And from this, we could compute kung magkano yung rate. So, delete muna natin to. You have a cost of goods sold na 4.5. Therefore, you have a gross profit na 1.5 million. We're going to assume that the gross profit rate is based on sales. So, generally kasi yung gross profit rate natin is based on sales. Hindi niya sinabi kung based on sales or based on cost of goods sold. But if the problem is silent and wala siya masyadong information, yung default, okay, the default idea or the default concept there is based on sales. So, kung based on sales, that means si sales ang 100%. And, paano natin mako-compute to? Simple lang. We just have to divide. 1.5, i-divide mo dun sa base. Therefore, we have a gross profit rate of 25. So, kung isi-squeeze natin, cost of goods sold is 75%. Or, pwede din natin i-divide na lang. So, 4.5 divided by the 6 million. We will have the same answer, 75%. So, ayun. Na-set up na natin kung magkano ang gross or ano ang gross profit rate ni 2019. And the problem says na on 2020, tinaasan natin. So parang medyo mas malaki na yung markup. Siguro mas gusto natin na mas malaki yung income. Kaya tinaasan natin ang markup. So instead of 25, nag-plus 5 tayo. So we now have a 30% markup. And that makes our cost of goods sold 70. Now, delete ko na muna to. And let's focus on 2020 this time. We now have a beginning inventory of 1 million and purchases or net purchases of 7.5. Purchases minus purchase returns. So, question, hindi natin alam yung inventory end. Pero pwede nating malaman or pwede tayong mag-compute ng estimated inventory end using our gross profit method. Sales is given, so that's 9 million. And pwede nating ma-compute si cost of goods sold because we have this following rates. 70% of 9 million is the cost of goods sold and the 30% is 2.7 or pwede din using the formula sales minus cost of sales, ganun din, 2.7. So, we now have inventory and na how much? Pwede nating i-work back. Ay, okay. I-work back natin, si cost of goods sold this time is 6.3. Therefore, the difference between total goods available for sale minus cost of sales is 2.2 million. And if we have 2.2 million, should be, okay, yun dapat yung inventory natin. But because of fire, may mga nasira or may mga na-damage, fire loss, and may mga naiwan naman. So, the question is how much ang nawala or yung na-damage ng fire. So, we have here ending inventory 2.2, kaso meron tayong 10,000 na estimated value sa mga damaged merchandise. So, that's 10,000. So, dito yung column na to or yung item na to, dito ko nilalagay kung magkano yung actual na naiwan. So, based on sa previous problems, dito natin nilalagay ang actual. So, we have 10,000, yung estimated realizable value. Ma'am, bakit hindi 100,000? Going back sa LCNRV, lower of cost or net realizable value. Whichever is lower, di ba? Kasi nga lower, di ba? Lower of cost versus NRV. Ano bang mas malaki? Yung 10,000 or yung cost? Ma'am, hindi naman binigay yung cost. Yung binigay is the selling price na 100,000. So, how do you know nga selling price? Sabi niya, mark to sell at. Mabibenta daw ng 100,000. So, selling price yun. So, compute natin, magkano ba yung cost para malaman natin whichever is lower. Kung 100 ang selling price, yung cost natin is, ayan, na-compute niya na, 70,000. Eh, yung realizable value, 10,000, which is lower, 70 or 10? Diba 10,000? So, we'll go with the 10,000. We also have undamaged merchandise na pwede nating mabenta at 500. So, ibig sabihin, kung pwedeng mabenta ng 500, yun yung sales price. Question, magkano ang cost? 350. So, dalawang items ang naiwan. Yung undamaged at saka yung medyo na damaged, pero mabibenta pa rin. So, yung 350 na hindi na damaged at yung 10,000 na damaged. Na ang cost is 70 pero 10,000 kasi yun yung net realizable value. So, if you could notice, yung undamaged merchandise, wala naman siyang binigay na information na sa net realizable value. So, we will focus on, or we will fix it sa cost na lang, na 350,000 based sa na-compute natin. Therefore, ang naiwan na lang pala na inventory pagkatapos ng sunog is 360,000. Ibig sabihin, ang nawala, that is 1.84 million. So, malaki-laki din pala ang nawala, di ba? Malaki-laki din yung naging lugi nila dahil dun sa fire. So, that is 1.84 million. Okay. So, that is problem 13-6, Claire Company. So, we have 2 more problems. So, kung nakuha mo to, congratulations. Nakuha mo yung concept. Kung hindi pa rin, then let's try this next problem. If you want to assess yourselves, again, I encourage you to pause the video and then compute mo. Then, saka mo i-play ulit para malaman mo yung answer. Okay. Clear ko muna tong items na to. So, this time we were going to talk about Paragon Company. Okay. On the night of September 30, 2020, a fire, again, destroyed most of the merchandise inventory of Paragon. All goods were completely destroyed except for partially damaged goods. So, na-damaged pa rin pero hindi siya completely damaged. That normally sell for 100,000. So, nabibenta siya ng 100,000 noon, nung hindi pa siya na-damaged. And that had an estimated net realizable value na 25,000. So, kung ibibenta mo siya ngayon, mga nasa 25,000 na lang. And undamaged goods that normally sell for 60,000. So, hindi siya na-damage. So, most probably, baka mabenta pa rin natin siya at the same amount, at the same price na 60,000. We have inventory beginning na 660, net purchases, and sales. We also have the information, net sales, cost of goods sold for the last 3 years. Okay. Question, what is the amount of fire loss to be recognized? So, Parang, ma'am, hindi natin makita yung gross profit rate on sales or gross profit rate on cost of goods sold. So, hindi nga natin makita pero may binigay siyang information na last 3 years. Di ba yung gross profit method, we assume na ang gross profit rate ng company is constant for a period of time. So, tingnan natin kung magkano para makita natin kung ano din yung gross profit rate na pwedeng i-apply sa year 2020. But before that, plot muna natin yung mga information. We have beginning na 660,000, net purchases of 4,240, and a net sales of 5,600. Okay. Paano ba to? Sige nga. Let's try to come up with the total. Ganyan na lang. So, since binigyan niya tayo ng 3-year information ng company, let's try to get the total para pwede natin siyang ma-assess. Okay? Kung magkano yung rate ng gross profit ng company for the last 3 years. We have total sales of 9 million. And we also have total cost of goods sold na 6,750. So, lagay natin dito total. Therefore, our gross profit is 2,250. So, kung 2,250 yung gross profit natin, let's try to compute, di ba pag default, we assume na ang gross profit rate is based on sales. So, if the problem is silent, yun yung default. Okay. So, before 2020, tingnan, input muna natin tong 9 million, okay? 9 million na sales last 3 years. Cost of goods sold na 6,750. And the gross profit na 2,250. Okay. Since naka-default tayo na on sales, ibig sabihin 100 si sales. So, kung 100 si sales, how do we compute again the rate of the gross profit or the cost of goods sold? Simple lang. Gawin nating base si sales. So, divided by sales. So, we have 75 for cost of goods sold and I think this is 25. 100 minus 75. 25%. So, we now have an idea na, okay. I will assume na on 2020, 25% on sales pa rin ang gagamitin na formula or the gross profit rate. So, balikan natin si 2020 na information, alright? Thank you, 3 years na data, nakatulong kayo. So, 75 and 25 dito. So, balik natin yung input na 5.6 million na 2020 sales. Now, we could compute how much is the cost of goods sold, 4.2, and eventually, how much is the gross profit? That's 1.4. Now, we have the cost of goods sold na 420, then we could work back kung magkano ang inventory end. So, we have 700,000. But, hindi naman ito lahat, hindi naman yung lahat ng 700,000 ang nasunog, right? Kasi, meron tayong naiwan na mga items na partially damaged at saka, ano pa to? Undamaged. Ayan. Hindi naman pala completely destroyed. So, ayan. Meron tayong partially damaged goods na normally nabibenta natin ng 100,000. Ibig sabihin, kung nabibenta natin siya ng 100,000, yung cost niya pala, using again our gross profit rate, which is constant, na 25% on sales, ibig sabihin may cost siyang 75,000. This is the cost. But the net realizable value is 25,000. So whichever is lower. Ano bang mas mababa? E di the 25,000. Okay. And we also have undamaged goods na nabibenta natin ng 60,000. So lagay natin dito 60,000. How much is the cost? Ayan, 45. Ibig sabihin, may naiwan na 25,000 plus 45,000. May naiwan na 70,000. So, ibig sabihin, for the year 2020 as of September 30, 2020, so during the fire, okay. Sala, bakit naging 45,000 tong cost of goods sold? Parang ang laki naman. Hindi di ba to 45,000? Sorry. Ay, kasi nakalink kasi to kanina. 4.2. 4.2. And then, magkano nga ulit yun dito? We have 25,000, right? And 45,000. So, we have 70. Therefore, the difference, which is the estimated fire loss, nasira ng fire, is 630,000. Okay? So, I think medyo na-absorb na natin yung concept. So, kung tama ka dito, congratulations again. Nagigets mo na talaga. Let's have this last problem for gross profit method. And we have 3 questions. So, sulitin na natin. Last problem na eh. So, what is the amount of purchase for the current year? What is the amount of sales? And magkano yung nasira ng fire? Ma'am, parang ang dami namang tanong. Ang dami nga. Ba't parang ang dami naman ding? Of course, ang dami naman itong data. So, let me see. Ay, hindi ito kasali. Siguro mamaya gagamitin natin. So, sorry, nasali ko. Kinumpit ko kasi siya beforehand bago ako nag-record. Okay, so on December 31, 2020, a fire broke out in the warehouse of Regatta. Sayang naman yung mga Regatta. Destroying all inventory. Sana pinamigay na lang. The following data are available for the current year. So, we have beginning inventory na 500,000. This time, parang medyo unique ang pagkakaplot niya ng data. So, kung gusto mong i-challenge yung sarili mo, pause this video and then solve mo muna. Or sa mga excited na matapos yung video, then sige, go. But I encourage you na try to solve it yourself muna. So, iba yung pagkakaplot niya. Binigyan niyo tayo ng information about accounts receivable, accounts payable, and some other items related to these 2 accounts. And, wala siyang binigay na sales. May binigay siyang sales, may binigay siyang gross profit. Wala siyang binigay na purchases. Wala siyang binigay na inventory end. So, yun. Ko-compute natin. Okay. Ay, hindi niya rin pala binigay ang sales for the current year kasi yung information niya, the last 3 years. Ko-compute din pala natin. Sige. Okay. Our beginning inventory for year 2020 is 500. At least man lang ito binigay. 500,000. So, yung net purchases hindi binigay and the rest hindi rin binigay. However, pwede din nating ma-compute ang gross profit rate using this 3-year information here. So, meron tayong sales, meron tayong gross profit. Di ba sales less cost of goods sold equals gross profit? Ito, ang binigay niya, sales and gross profit. Sales minus gross profit, ganun din. Cost of goods sold. So, ikot-ikot lang. So, magagamit yung common sense natin dito. Sales, bawasan mo ng profit mo, ibig sabihin yan yung cost. So, yan pala yung mga information na binigay ko kanina or yung nasali kanina. Na-compute ko na pala yan. Okay. So, compute muna natin magkano yung rate. So, yung sales natin, we have 2.8 plus 2.7 plus 2.5. So, we have total sales of 8 million for the last 3 years. Cost of goods sold, we have 1.4 plus 1.62 and so on. So, we have 4.8. So, kung i-minus natin yan, dapat yung gross profit natin is 3.2. So, try natin i-check using the actual information na binigay. That one plus 1.08 plus 860. Ayan, 3.2 million nga. So, okay. So, pag naka-default, di ba, based on sales tayo. So, 100 to. Therefore, magkano to? Divide natin sa 8 million. Our gross profit rate pala is 40%. So, if this is 40%, I believe yung cost of goods sold natin is 60%. Dapat lang. Ayan, 60% na. Now, okay na tayo dito. Ang hindi natin makuha muna ngayon is for year 2020. Kasi yung information na to, for the last 3 years, kinuha lang natin yung total. Now, ang gusto nating malaman is how much ang sales natin for 2020. At hindi rin natin alam kung magkano yung net purchases, inventory, cost of goods sold. But actually, using the other information na binigay naman, pwede natin yung i-compute. So, balikan natin ang T account ni accounts receivable. Even yung accounts payable. I think na-mention ko to, kailan ko ba to na-mention? Na malala. But I think na-mention ko to. During accounts receivable or receivables natin na top. So, na-mention ko tong mahiwagang T account na to. So, ano nga ulit yung nasa T account ng accounts receivable? We have the beginning, naka-debit yun. Beginning plus credit sales, tama? Plus accounts written off, accounts previously written off, pero na-collect natin ulit. So, i-add natin sa accounts receivable yun. Doon naman tayo sa credit, we have collections, and then accounts written off, ano pa ba? Yung mga sales discounts, sales allowances, sales returns, mga allowances na yon. Allowance for sales discount, allowance for doubtful accounts, allowance for sales returns, and allowances. So, allowance for sales allowances. Okay. So, yung mga items na yun, please review, wag kalimutan. So, accounts receivable, we have a beginning of 480,000, naka-debit yun. And yung ending is 440. Collection. Saan nga ulit yung collection? Pag nag-collect ka ng accounts from your customer, di ba debit cash, tapos credit accounts receivable kasi na-collect mo na. So, may collection ka ditong 2.64. Credit yon. And you have payment to suppliers. Hindi na to makaka-affect ng accounts receivable. Most probably accounts payable yan. Goods out on consignment at sales price, I think. Sa inventory naman yan. Salvage value sa inventory pa rin. So, I think ito lang. Ito lang yung mga items na makaka-affect ng accounts receivable natin. So, if these are the amounts present in your T account, ang question natin dito is how much is your credit sales? Ayan. Hindi pwedeng mawala si credit sales. Lagi yan andyan. Now, let us work back. So, we have ending plus ang kaning naa sa tabok. So, if kailangan mong tumawid sa kabilang side or from here going to here, naka-plus yun. Minus mo yung item na nasa parehong column. So, this, tsaka this, deduct mo yun. So, we have credit sales of 2.6 million and that, I guess, is question number 2. Tama ba? So, may answer na tayo for question number 2. That's 2.6. So, dito sa taas, may pwede na tayong ilagay sa sales. Ayan. Now, cost of goods sold, pwede na natin i-compute. That is 60% of sales. And your gross profit is basically 40% times 40%. Or, pwedeng deduct na lang. Ganun pa rin. 1.04. So, we now have an information of 1,560 na cost of goods sold. Ano pa bang items na kulang? Ayan, hindi natin makompute yung net purchases. Or hindi pa natin alam, I mean. And the inventory end na i-work back natin later. So, ayan. Compute na natin ang cost of inventory end. Net purchases pa pala. So, net purchases, we could compute it using our accounts payable na T account. So, we have here a beginning of 400. Beginning nasa credit side. And ending na 500. We have payment to suppliers. So, pag nagbayad tayo, we have debit, accounts payable, credit, cash. So, dito yun sa debit. We have 1,600. Again, yung consignment tsaka yung salvage sa inventory yan. So, magkano ang purchases? Or this time, let's consider this as the net purchases. Kung wala namang ibang items. So, pwede tayo mag-work back. Again, add if nasa kabila, deduct on the same column. So we now have the 1.7 net purchases. That is question number 1. Ayan. So, pwede na natin ma-compute. Work back natin magkano ang inventory end. So, we have 640,000 na inventory end. So, that is our should be. Yan dapat ang nasa bodega natin. But, according to the problem, meron tayong salvage value of inventory. May na-save tayo na inventory na mga nasa 20,000. And, meron tayong inventory na wala sa atin physically kasi naka-consign. Ano nga ulit yung consignment? Diba? Pag sinabing consignment, mura ba? Gibilin. Okay? Gibilin sa lain. Naka-consign. Iniwan natin maybe at some store. Remember the illustration natin about Watsons, di ba? May consignment, may iniwan na inventory ang ibang company or ibang stores doon sa Watson shop. So, ibig sabihin, yung 200,000 natin na goods at sales price, wala sa atin. Nasa sa kaibigan natin. Iniwan natin sa kanya, doon natin pinabenta. Ibig sabihin, yung time na nasusunog ang warehouse, yung inventory na yon hindi nasali. Kasi nga wala siya sa warehouse. Hindi siya nasali. So, sana pala kinonsign lang natin lahat, no? Sayang yung regata. Ibig sabihin, kasali yun sa naiwan. Kaya nga lang at sales price, yung 200. So, i-compute muna natin how much is the cost. Kung 200 ang sales price, 60%, that's 120 na cost. So, yung naiwan pala is 120 na naka-consign at cost. Lagi tayong at cost, right? Plus, the 20,000 salvage value. Ibig sabihin yung inventory na na-save natin from fire. Therefore, may naiwan na 140,000. 120, naka-consign, wala sa atin, so safe, hindi nasunog. At saka yung 20 na na-save natin from sunog. So, the 640 should be versus the 140 na actual, magkano pa lang nawala? 500,000. So, 500,000 ang nasira ng fire. Grabe regata. Sayang yun. Okay. So, for question number 1, how much is the purchase? That's 1.7. Question number 2, the sales. Nasa na ba yun? That's 2.6. And the inventory fire loss, that's 500,000. So, medyo analytical ang problem na to, but I like it. Okay, so medyo ma-review tayo sa ibang concepts na nadaanan na natin before. So, I think that would be the last problem for this. So, hindi naman ganoon kahirap si gross profit on sales. Gross profit method. So, we have the clue already. Ano yung word after on? Yun yung magiging 100%. And then, you just do the math, algebra, common sense. Let's apply them. And then, hanap tayo ng paraan para malaman natin how much is the gross profit. Like, for this problem, hindi niya binigay. So, kinuha natin yung 3-year na information na binigay niya. Because we assume that in the gross profit method, constant yung magiging gross profit rate. Kung silent naman yung problem, yung default natin is lagi siyang gross profit on sales. So, 100 profit. So, pag sinabi niya specifically na on cost of goods sold, so gross profit rate on cost of goods sold, so dito yung magiging 100%. So, just like the second problem na na-present kanina. Okay, so that would be it for gross profit method. And for the next video, we're going to talk about the inventory or the retail inventory method. So I hope you learned a lot. Thank you for watching and God bless.